Hey guys, Moose here. We are back with some more Stonehearth. In between episodes, I figured out how to get more citizens thanks to a commenter and also the internet because I got a little bit confused. So I'm going to show you where it is just in case you're curious because this doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it makes sense to me. You'll see. So I click settings and for a while I was looking here thinking, well, where's the setting? This doesn't make any sense. Where is it? I was told it would be here. Problem is, like everything else in this game, it uses tabs at the bottom. I look up here for tabs personally. This was completely invisible to me for like half an hour. Which is embarrassing, but it was. Here's the slider, starts at 20, goes up to 50. No problem. And that's it. So I just wanted to show that because I think it's easy to miss the tabs at the bottom there. Or I did anyway, so. We should be getting new villagers soon. Anyway, I'm glad I finally figured that out because I actually wound up going and looking around the, oh, that's what, being stupid. Looking around the files a little bit, poking around in Lua, trying to figure out where it said max citizens, because the problem is with these, you know, early access games that have been early access for a while, you might say, okay, well, if there was an issue and the game had been released, you know, someone said something about it and they were trying to figure out, okay, well, everyone wants to know how to get more than 20 villagers, right? It's a common thing. Well, I have answers from Alpha 10.5, but we're on Alpha 18 and shit's changed. So, and then I have answers from another unidentified alpha that said stuff about the Lua, and that obviously has changed. But it's very difficult to actually find answers that are relevant to the most latest version. So that's one kind of frustrating thing. Like if a game comes out, even if it's been patched, if it's not an early access game, it's very easy to figure out, okay, well, hey, if you have this problem, it's, you know, here's how you fix it. Because, you know, there's really only been one major version for the most part. And if there's more than one, there's only like 3, and that's expansions. So, I don't know. It's just something that I guess you don't think about too much in the context of early access, and that's one of the issues, I think. Anyway, we also had a comment that may have explained why our herbalist is so damn slow to level up. Let's see if the commenter was right. They were. It's because he's a master farmer. He now gets a EXP penalty, or maybe not an EXP penalty, but his... This isn't going off of, oh, he's level 1, so it takes this much to level up. It's saying he's level 7 now, so it takes this much to level up, which is much higher. And we can verify that by saying this is 985 for 6 plus 1 is 7. We find someone who's level nothing, doesn't even have a bar yet. That's not who we want. And this is a master. Max level, okay. The problem is most of our people are max level. Okay, level 6. Nope. Why doesn't it say master for archer? Interesting. Ah, level 4, here we go. 4 plus 3 plus 1, which is 8, is higher than that. So yes, it is based on the total level, and it's works that way, which makes some sense. It's a little annoying. You have a substantially lower amount of flexibility as a result of that. But I get it, you know. It also kind of punishes you for switching, I think. Well, you can't be terribly flexible. I think this should be the person. We're actually going to say, no, you can go back to farming then, since you're so damn useless. And we're gonna have Helen Stroden. Helen Doral. There aren't that many names in this game. I would assume that's probably fairly low on the priority list of things to add. You're gonna be our new herbalist. Okay, we got someone who's selling some stuff. I don't think we care about this right now. So now we have an extra farmer. Is that a waste? Yeah, probably. But tough shit. Let's desperately try to get this person up to cleric. The other thing that's kind of shitty about this is you're basically inherently at a disadvantage for... No, actually, that's a good place to look at it. You're inherently at a disadvantage for anything here. For leveling them. Which... Except Potter in some cases. Because you start with one in... No, it's never mind. It's switched for whatchamacallit. It's switched for Raz children. But basically, if you don't promote them immediately, you're kind of punished for it. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I like games that punish things that you shouldn't be doing, but I feel like that's kind of not something that you shouldn't be doing. So from a design perspective, I'd say I'd kind of like them to approach that problem in a different way. And say maybe you can kind of do just something to allow you to tell the villager, you know, no, I want you to stop gaining experience. Yeah, we'll get the villager. That's why we did that whole thing for the last half hour. What are you good at? I guess I can look. No, that's not what I want. More info, please. There we go. Always forget which thing I have to click on. Not very good, but okay. But, yeah, I'm not really sure necessarily how you'd fix that problem from a design standpoint. I think you'd really mainly have to be able to... The easy one is say, well, hey, I can tell a villager to stop gaining experience at a particular level, because that's when I want them to switch over. But that's not really a good solution, I don't think. It'd be better, I think it would be better if you said, I think in the case of a farmer going to herbalist, it's fine. Like, this makes, the penalty makes sense. But if you're gonna say, oh no, this is completely, well, I'm trying to rethink this. So, one thing is, I think that the higher level, like if you're making recipes for this, it should, even if it's a level 1 recipe within this class, it should give you more EXP. Then the other thing, like more EXP in line with perhaps how quick it would be to get level 6, or a little bit slower, but I don't think it should just be 1-to-1. Actually, I'm kind of curious if it is. Let's see. Let's do a little experiment here. Let's look at our... I want to know about this from a math standpoint and a design standpoint. You're an apprentice, so this doesn't quite help. Well, no, it does. It does. Because we're only caring about how much you get. 81 out of 100. Eating right now, but she'll go... Let's kick it up to speed 3. Probably going to go make some potions in a minute. Why are you getting food? You just ate. Eating a plate? What a glutton. You had corn on the cob, and now you're getting berries? Come on. Go cook. Or go make a potion. Okay. Crafting, crafting, crafting. And we go up by 9. Okay. So now we know a generic level 1 recipe with very basic ingredients is 9 EXP. No requirement for the level. Okay. So now if we come over here and say, this is none required, 1 ingredient. Make 1. And we go and look... Shit, I'm gonna be too slow. I know there's invaders, we'll deal with that. This is more interesting. 141. What are you gonna get? Okay. 5. Interesting. So, that's not really an ideal test. But... is that because of her level decreased it? Oh, there's a lot of them. Who is he? Where are the invaders? Goblin thing. Okay, they are these guys. Alright. That wasn't an ideal test. It's not necessarily a 1-to-1 thing. But I think it's close enough that it gives us perhaps an idea. And I would suggest that maybe... I don't know. Is the EXP different because they're at different levels? Or is the EXP different because they're different recipes? And we can test that by seeing what happens once our herbalist gets to level 2, finally. And we will. Or level 1, rather, because they're an apprentice right now. Ah, fire arrows, lovely. Yep, they're getting wrecked. No, why we're... Oh, okay, they're running away because they're on fire. They're scared, not because they're hearth tenders. I thought we were attacking the hearth tenders primarily there. I was a little confused. Okay, well, our herbalist should be leveling up very, very soon, so let's kind of watch her real quick. Oh, she already did. Okay, so let's see. Presumably making one now, yeah, 35 to 44. That's still 9. So... I could be wrong, but I feel like that tells me that it doesn't depend on level, it depends on the recipe. So... And the thing is, we've got the advanced class of... engineer getting even less EXP than a base class of herbalist for its basic recipe. And I gotta say, barring any major... Oh, you have merchant gold now. Okay, that wasn't mentioned in the patch notes. There was a patch recently. Didn't really do much, but apparently it did more than it said it did, so that's something. Sell this crap. I don't even know where I got that stuff. More potions. Yeah, so apparently it did more than it said in the patch notes. The patch notes were just like really specific bug fixes, and then one was like, okay, well, now scaffolding and ladders on buildings break less often. Like, fix something with ladders where the scaffolding... I didn't really understand it because I haven't had that particular issue recently, so I don't know for sure what it's talking about. Got another new person, that's good. Don't really care about their stats at the moment. So, I'm a little not thrilled, actually, that they're saying that... we want to take all this shit. That a level... 1 recipe for an advanced class actually gives you less EXP than... Yeah, that's not surprising. Farmers are going nuts here. That it gives you less EXP per craft than a freaking level 1 herbalist recipe, which is a base class. I think that's a little bit bullshit, because that means that you're necessarily going to have to grind much, much harder on an engineer than you ever will on an herbalist. And I think... it should be harder, but it shouldn't be harder... Okay, so in the current situation, it's harder for 2 reasons. It's harder because you're higher level when you become an engineer, you have to be, and it's harder because you get like almost half as much EXP. You can go one of those routes and say, okay, we'll make it harder because you're higher level, and that makes sense from a design perspective. Or you could just make it less EXP for higher level 1. For a advanced class synth, I guess. Craft is a way of putting it. I think doing both is kind of shitty. And I'm a little bit... I don't know. I feel like going this route from a design perspective causes a lot of problems. And it's a little frustrating as a player. The thing with engineer, not so much. Like, it's not necessarily a huge problem. It seems like a really bizarre way to balance the game. To say, this is only going to get me 200 EXP, that's like 1/5 of a level at this point for her. It just seems very strange to balance the game in this way. Because the logic I can imagine is basically, hey, you know, engineers are really valuable and powerful because they have turrets, which are like... Hearthlings can't... What are you guys doing? What are you doing? Go home. What are you doing? Why are you fighting up here, you idiot? Alright, whatever, that was a farmer. That's a stupid fucking farmer. I sounded the horn for them to go home, and he didn't go home. He started fighting. He's not in the military, dude. You don't do that. Alright. Yep, still don't care about your stuff. We'll see if we have anything to sell. Oh shit, you know what? Maybe I sold stuff that was supposed to go on here. In fact, I'm like 99% sure I did. Stupidly. Oh well. But yeah, if the logic is that, okay, engineer is powerful, so we need to balance it. So to balance it, we're going to make it harder to level up. Yeah, I don't think that really is good logic. Personally, I think it makes a hell of a lot more sense to say, you know, find other ways to balance it. And they did. You can't just make infinite turrets, you know? And frankly, they're not the best working, so... You've got, not only do you have uses on them, you can only use them 20 times before they have to be repaired, and I think that may take materials, I'm not sure. Then you say, okay, well now you also limit it by the level of your engineer. They can only get so many turrets and traps out before it's capped. There's so many different limits that they're putting on this one thing, and it's frustrating as a player, I feel, because you have to kind of juggle 20 different things instead of just one. And if they limited it to a particular efficacy by just having one clearly understood limit that the player could manage, then there's not such a problem, you know? It's much easier to comprehend and deal with and play the game. Complexity doesn't necessarily add anything of value, and I feel like in this situation, a more simple approach where they manage it with one particular thing would have been a much better solution to this issue. And I feel like the way that they've chosen to handle it kind of... It's a little strange. And it sort of goes in with the situation they've got with the leveling system and how being higher level overall causes problems for leveling up other classes, to the point where, I mean, you really, like, may as well just never do it. At which point you have to wonder, well... Why would I ever change classes? Why are you giving me the ability to change classes if you're going to punish me so thoroughly for doing it? I guess. Or not necessarily punish me for doing it, but make it such a pain. Like, basically, there's no way that I was ever going to get that herbalist up to any level that mattered. I don't think, like, I would have had to churn through maybe a couple thousand healing herbs to get there. And that, honestly, is optimistic. I think I may have needed more than that. So... why allow me to do it then? It's like saying, it's like you've done all this work to allow me to change classes, which matters because, yeah, you need to go to advanced classes and sometimes you need to adjust. And sometimes a base level of competency is all you need for something, but why would you then make it functionally impossible to level up someone who's already mastered another class? It seems kind of silly, doesn't it? Like, I don't see the point there. So, I don't know. I think that's I don't know how many games this developer has done before. No one's perfect regardless, so it's not like anyone in particular would know everything there is to know about game development and make a perfect game every time as a result. That's not how it works, but I wonder if they've thought about this, because it seems like something that's a little bit silly, that's easy to miss. If you're not, because I have to imagine, if they're the developer of the game, they probably don't have time or energy or, frankly, probably interest in playing the game constantly, right? They're running a community, they have to run the business, they have to program the game, they have to make the assets, there's all kinds of things. I mean, they probably get enough of this game as it is, and probably if they're going to do something to relax, they don't want to play the game. They want to just, you know, go have a beer or play some other game. And that's a completely reasonable feeling to have, I think, and I completely get that feeling. So I can't imagine that they're playing this game all the time or anything, especially when it's been so much been through 18 alpha versions already, which is pretty impressive. They've done a lot of work. This is a good game. But my point that I'm trying to work up to is I totally get it if they don't necessarily see this particular thing. This, I guess I'm going to call it a flaw, because I feel like it's a flaw, but that's a little bit of a subjective opinion, I guess. It's not completely objective thing. I think you can make a solid case for what I'm saying to be correct, but just because I think I'm right doesn't mean I'm right. So Anyway, I'm curious if you agree or disagree. Please let me know what you think in the comments, because it's an interesting subject. I've always been really interested in game design and like the ideas of how you go about doing it, and little traps that, you know, if you haven't made a game or you haven't played too many games, it's easy to think, well, oh, this is easy. You know, everything about this is simple and there's no complexity at all. So here's how this should work this way, blah blah blah. This should work that way. And you say, okay, well, this game should do this instead because of X, Y, and Z, but, well, no, you don't understand that this other factor plays into it, and you have to balance these things. You know, there's a lot that goes into it that people don't often realize, and it's very interesting for me to think about it and say, well, okay, based on what I know, does this choice make sense? Or, better yet, why did they make this choice? Why did they do it this way? And I think in this case, you know, pretty obviously it's a balance issue. You don't want to be able to have easily, because there's no reason that I wouldn't right now just start cycling all my Hearthlings through all the jobs. So at any given time, I could have 23 of anything. Because I can level them up so easily, because we have an abundance of materials. Why wouldn't I just do that, right? And at that point, you know, that's maybe a little silly. I think that's not necessarily a gameplay issue that you would want to eliminate and avoid, but it is something that you'd maybe want to think about. And you don't necessarily want the player to be able to do anything. Restrictions exist for a reason, and if the game doesn't have rules, it's not really a game, is it? Everything has rules, even if they're not expressly stated. So, anyway. It's an interesting subject. Like I said, please let me know what you think, because I'm having a lot of fun thinking about this, even though the issue itself, as I believe it is impacting my engineer as well, is kind of irritating me a bit. But that's okay. No game is perfect, and I could be completely wrong that this is a flaw anyway. I could be mistaken. There could be some factor that I'm not considering that totally makes sense and is why they did it this way, but all I can do is have the opinion that I have based on the information that I have, so I'll continue having that opinion until someone makes a compelling argument in the opposite direction. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed our discussion on that, and I hope you enjoyed the video as well. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.